Hello and welcome back to the FEZ show. It is the 22nd of July 2020 and we have so much to discuss today as the driver market gets even more spicy with Brendon Hartley leaving Dragon and Sergio Sette Camara replacing him. So we'll delve into that very shortly, and we will also be discussing Monaco, the Gen 3 car, the Gen 2 Evo car. So there's got so much to discuss today. Joining me on the show to talk plenty of Formula E is Edward Hunter and Jack Pickering. Morning, boys.
Good morning.
Morning.
How are we
In
all?
unison. Yes. I'm good. I'm not bad. Had a week off last week, so yeah, happy to get stuck into it this week.
I know a lot of things to discuss. Ed, how has your week been?
Good. I've been working on a secret project that I can't tell anyone about, but you already know about it, Jack. So.
Of course, yeah. Our secret project that we're working very tirelessly on.
I am. You guys
well,
aren't
you
doing
are.
anything.
I'm not. I'm just ticking off the
To be fair, you're an investor.
He's appreciating it from a distance, Ed.
Of
That's
course.
true.
That's what he's
we're all doing. We're all appreciating it from a distance, but thank God we've got someone that is as talented as you, Ed, who can help us with this secret project. But we can't wait. We can't wait. Honestly, I've mentioned it a bit on stream for those people who listen on stream. I've not said anything about it. I've just said we've got something in the pipeline and we are really looking forward to being able to share it with you very soon. When it will be, we're not quite sure, but when it's ready, we'll wait for it to be ready. We don't want to rush poor Ed. And when it's ready, we will show it to you, and hopefully it will be a nice little mini series.
Enough fake stuff. Let's get into the news.
Yeah, stop. Is this Easter eggs? Is this what Easter eggs is called? That's Easter eggs, right? I'm not. To be fair, we didn't say many Easter eggs, but anyway, moving on because we've got to talk Formula E, and obviously this morning, big news, Jack. Sergio Sette Camara has replaced Brendon Hartley. Now, I'm not going to go in too much. I know you're a bit disappointed. You've nearly got that Swedish flag out. I saw a little glimpse of it. But what do you think, first and foremost, on Sergio Sette Camara? Obviously, with the Swedish flag, Joel Eriksson, bit annoying for you, I suppose, that he didn't get the seat or the drive.
Yeah, no, I was hoping to wave this about a little bit this morning and say a couple of words in Swedish, but
you can still do.
Yeah, stort gratis, Sergio, for that seat. Everything was kind of pointing at Joel Eriksson, so I was getting a little bit giddy because of my affection towards Sweden. I am a little bit disappointed that Joel Eriksson didn't get the seat. But no, Sergio Sette Camara, he's had a good few years in Formula 2, and it'll be interesting to see what he can do because I think we're all in agreement that isn't the best car by a long way on the grid. I think it's going to be exciting to see what he can do up against Nico Müller. He's got 6 races to prove himself in Berlin that we'll probably get onto a little bit later on. I'm not. I'd love to see a Swede in the car, well done to Sergio for that seat.
Yeah, I think though, Ed, Sergio Sette Camara, I think if we go back to his last season that he had, so last 2 seasons in Formula 2, he's had a F1 teammate. In 2018, it was Lando Norris that he was up against, and last season he had Nicholas Latifi at Dams. So, he's not done too badly against those 2 drivers. I don't think in his F2 career. So it'll be interesting to see now what he can do because, he was quick in the Marrakesh rookie test. I think he was P2. He finished P2, which was quite good on lap times, especially for the Dragon. Obviously, you can't read too much into that. But of the rookies, you could say he was one of the better ones. So looking at that from that perspective, he might become a solid Formula E driver. He might prove himself quite quickly in these 6 races in Berlin.
Yeah, it's certainly a great opportunity for Sette Camara after a couple of wilderness years. He didn't look like he had too much on this year anyway, even before the pandemic hit. But yeah, I remember even had Sette Camara when we did drivers we'd like to see in Formula E. His name did come up at one point. I forget who it was who mentioned him. It might have been Will, but I don't quote me. I have to go back and watch it. But for me, it really highlights, though, that there's almost a revolving door of drivers at Dragon. I'm not sure if you guys would agree, but I just keep thinking of the Nasser Gunfer situation last season, Jose Maria Lopez leaving, Jerome D'Ambrosio, well, actually, Jerome left for Mahindra. It wasn't completely on bad terms because you'd mentioned he still got on well. But I just keep thinking of a lot of drivers that have left. We often see, like I say, a revolving door of drivers. And it's really a real shame because Brendon Hartley was the big signing at Dragon and he seems to have lost interest, decided to either because he's not happy at the team or he just wants to focus on world endurance. So whilst it's a great opportunity for Sette Camara, you've got to think that a lot of things were, expected from Brendon Hartley and things just haven't worked out. And it's a bit sad from that perspective.
I think that was the interesting thing, right? Because let's talk about the press release that Dragon put out. So Dragon didn't say anything, absolutely nothing about Hartley. And, if we go back to Mar, for example, with the Neo press release, they said, look, the reason why Mar is not here is because of travel logistics, because he's in China. Now, I posed last week that Brendon Hartley could be facing the same problems, right? That there could be travel logistics. He's in New Zealand. Getting over to Berlin might be really difficult, and getting back might be quite difficult as well. So there could be a reason on that basis that Hartley would miss these 6 races, Jack. But I don't think that's the case. I have a feeling now, because they didn't thank Hartley, they didn't mention Hartley at all in that press release. I'm thinking now that his contract, which would have run out end of July, so in a week's time, after which would have been the London E-Prix this weekend, that I think Dragon have just let his contract run. They've had a mutual discussion and probably agreed not to continue. Therefore, they've moved on, and Brendon Hartley doesn't even get a mention, which I just thought was odd that a team, every team seems to thank their driver. Oh, thanks for Brendon Hartley. We really appreciate all this time. But there was no mention of that in the Dragon press release.
No, not at all, and that makes it look like that they did kind of leave on bad terms, which is a shame. As Ed said, that was their big signing of the summer to replace Maxi Gunter, and so and yes, it hadn't gone amazingly well, but he did pick up a few points. I think he scored a couple of points in Diria. I might be wrong.
He did, but only after everyone ahead of him had been disqualified.
But still, he still picked up points for the team, and I think that's the only points that the team's got this year because Nico Müller has put in some great quality performances, but I think one of them springs to mind in Mexico, but then he binned it on lap 3. But yeah, I do feel bad for Brendon Hartley for not even getting a mention in that, and it does kind of make it look like that that they did kind of end on bad terms, or just they didn't, or basically the contract ran out, because Formula E contracts are a little bit different, so it ends at the end of July, and then they can sign someone else from there instead of having a season 6 contract. It's like a 12-month contract thing, and so maybe that contract ended, and one side wanted to go into deals, and then the other was like, nah, thanks, hung up, and that was that. But it is interesting, and it is disappointing that we have lost Brendon Hartley, but let's see what Sergio does in the final 6 races, and then possibly he'll and then possibly, who knows, he might even get the seat for season 7.
That's what I'm thinking, Ed, is that obviously now Sergio Sette Camara will obviously be pushing for a seat, obviously, for next season. Brendon Hartley, he was the key summer signing. And to be honest, he didn't set the world alight, let's be honest, right? He didn't come in. But yet again, with that car, it's hard to tell because, Dragon haven't been anywhere for the last couple of seasons. They haven't really been, they're here, they've slightly improved, but it's not been great. Like, the performances have been a bit inconsistent. So maybe you can let Hartley off for that. But I suppose if he was the key signing to sort of push the team forward, it didn't really work. And maybe Müller was the driver that was, doing that sort of moving forward. So I think it's not harsh. I don't know if it's harsh on Hartley, but I think maybe the way he's been treated might have been harsh. But we don't know how he's been treated. We don't know really the situation, which is why we reported it this morning when we said, they didn't give a reason why Hartley's left. And if they said a reason that his contract came to an end, or if it was the logistical battle and then they've decided that it was a mutual agreement, because sometimes that's sort of said, like, in press releases, they'll go, it's a mutual decision between both parties to end the current term. So the fact that it didn't say that, I think goes back to, what Jack's saying, or what you're saying, is that, they didn't leave on good terms. Maybe Hartley didn't want to leave and was forced out somehow. Like, it makes the situation just a bit more spicy.
Possibly, yeah. And I think maybe Dragon's judgment over drivers, driven that they tried to get rid of Maxi Günther last year for Felipe Nasser, and then Günther has since gone on to do some amazing performances and is now driving the factory BMW seat. It really does make Dragon look a little bit silly for trying to drop Maxi Günther last year. And you've got to hope that this isn't another short-sighted decision. I think Sette Camara might fare a little bit better than Felipe Nasser. We'll have to see, but he hasn't got a whole lot of time to adapt. At least he has done that Marrakesh test. So yeah, in terms of the reason why Hartley parted, a lot of journalists were basically shrugging their shoulders that I don't know why Brendon Hartley is left. It's sort of like even guys like Sam Smith from the race who was basically saying that he wasn't really sure. They'd just seen Brendon looking a bit unhappy, and he's like, well, maybe it was World Endurance. Don't really know for sure. Because of course, in that same period that he signed with Dragon, he also got the deal with Toyota in LMP1 there. So that's probably what he's going to be focusing on soon. But yeah, not a little bit of a loss to Formula E. Of course, for New Zealand fans, they've still got Mitch Evans to support, so it's not a huge blow. But...
And obviously they've got Nick Cassidy coming in for Virgin.
Oh yeah, of course.
So we're getting a couple of Kiwis back in Formula E. But Jack, let's just talk very quickly of Brendon Hartley just before we move. He's had a bit of a turbulent couple of years, right? Ever since that F1 sort of moved to Toro Rosso, and then didn't really work out for him, and he comes into Formula E, sort of had an amazing, obviously LMP1 category with Porsche. I think it was before the obviously F1, and then leaving F1, he wasn't really there. Comes into Formula E, doesn't really work. And now he's trying to get back into the World Endurance Championship. It's been a turbulent few years for Brendon Hartley.
Yeah, we've seen many a time before how harsh this Red Bull driver program is. Yes, Hartley was brought in kind of last minute into the Toro Rosso seat. I think it was USA 2017 because Sainz got the call up to Renault and Pierre Gasly had to go off and do Super Formula. And so they brought back Danny Kvyat and they had Brendon Hartley in that second seat, and then he was kept for the rest of the season whilst they said bye to Kvyat. And if we look at who's at that second Red Bull team now, yeah. But Brendon Hartley, he did have a kind of baptism of fire into Formula One. Because towards the end of that season, he always got the grid penalties. And that was, and it was more of the same in 2018 as well. And we've seen it before how Formula One is just such a cutthroat sport, and especially in that team, because we've seen probably one of the greatest Formula E drivers of all time, Jean-Eric Vergne. He got a phone call from Helmut Marko saying, "Cheers, thank you, bye bye." And so yeah, it wasn't. And yeah, that's the thing with Formula One. It's just like if you aren't performing, then that's it. You're gone. And so yeah, he used Formula E as a backup thing. We all thought he was going to go to the Porsche factory team. However, that didn't work out, and so he got dropped in the Dragon instead. But yeah, as we've said about 50 times already in this show, the Dragon is not a great car. And so yeah, he wasn't able to perform the performances that that I think he was capable of, and it's also adapting to it, because we've seen so many great drivers, even his old Porsche WEC teammate Neil Yarni. He's had a terrible season in Formula E, and he's going to be replaced by Pascal Wehrlein, we think, for season 7. So yeah, it's a bit of a shame, but that we've lost Brendon. But yeah, it is hard. It is very, very hard to do well in this series.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. Like, this series has, there's been some very good drivers come in, as you said, Neil Yarni, obviously Hartley as well, with lots of experience. Even Lotterer, if we go back to Andre Lotterer, and obviously who's given the time, and he's bedded into the series quite well. But at the beginning, it was looking like it was all over the place for Andre. But obviously, he got the time and he's managed to adapt. But then, obviously, there's some drivers like Felix Rosenqvist, Pascal Wehrlein, Mitch Evans, who come into the series and fly. So it's really odd to see that there are types of drivers that can adapt to this series and go boom straight away. And there's some drivers that need that time to really understand it. And I think that's super interesting for me, just as an outsider looking. I can't, how some drivers can just go boom. Doesn't matter what I'm driving, I'll be quick in here. And some drivers need to learn the series, learn the car, and then get quickly over time, which we were seeing with the likes of, I would suppose, James Collado and stuff like that. They were getting better, but then they don't have the time to get better anymore. But let's move on, because obviously Berlin, we were treated to 3 track layouts, and we were thinking maybe we could have, from our little PR stunt that we did, Jack, that maybe we could tempt Formula E, say, hey, did you see that design that guy did? Why didn't you pick that one? But they didn't. Instead, we've got obviously the normal classic layout, and then we've got, which will be the second round, so that'll be on the weekend, Saturday, Sunday of whatever it is, 9th and 10th, I think, of August. And then we've got the reverse layout, which will be the first one, so we'll basically the normal layout as we would have had, but the other way around. And then we've got a nice new layout with a bit more of a squiggly section in Sector 2 to sort of round out the championship. What did you make, Jack, of the new track layouts?
I would like to go on record and say that I still prefer my layout over the 3 that they've chosen. But that isn't really a surprise because I designed it. But yeah, I think a reverse race was always going to be on the cards. So yeah, and I get why we're doing it first, because then because the grid hatchings, because they need to put it on the other side for them to do the for them to do the final race of the year as well. So it wouldn't make sense if we did the original one, then the reverse one, and then we went back to the and then we went back to the normal way round with the new section. With the new section, I'll be honest, I'm not big on it. I think it's going to make overtaking really, really hard, and it's going to make the cars. It's going to be harder for the cars to follow, because through that squiddly section. I mean, no, downforce isn't as much in Formula E as it is in Formula 1, but it's still going to be hard. It's still going to be like hard to like keep close to everyone, and I think it will spread the field out, definitely. Yeah, I don't know if they had anything really planned else for that, but I think it seems okay. One of my other issues is with the reverse one is that there are some corners where I just think there really isn't enough runoff, and there isn't that many overtaking zones. So what would be the 3rd and 4th to last corner, that fast,
the Shanghai sort of
left
thing.
That fast left right section coming up to the penultimate corner, that's not going to make good overtaking zone, and also the long straight that usually goes into attack mode. If you go back the other way, they're going to have a short braking zone, go a kink to the left, and then have a hairpin right. So I don't think it's going to be much. But also, as you said, the Shanghai kind of section. If you do even lock a wheel for like a fraction of a second, you will be in the barrier, because there is no runoff there, because the track is literally on the other side of it. So there are parts of it where I'm just not so plus, but overall I'm happy to see Formula E back, and I think I will be proven wrong with 6 great races that we'll have in August.
Yeah, but that's the thing, Ed. Like, it was really quick, right? Let's remind ourselves, a bit like the Race at Home Challenge. Like, they weren't 6 races in Berlin was never the plan, right? It was the last resort plan, okay? And then they thought, okay, but we can't have 3 races at the same track, basically. So they've had to think on their feet effectively. What can they do and get FIA homologated and all that stuff, and if the reverse layout could even work, and I suppose there must be some parts, because there are similarities between all of the tracks, and obviously they didn't want to completely redesign the tracks because the effort. There's not as many manpower there to sort of move all the concrete blocks to make all the new sections in like 3 days to basically make a new track every, well, say 2 races. So I understand the reverse layout. I probably agree with Jack. You know, when you build a track, you don't build it for its reverse racing. You build it for its racing normally, like the way that you've intended it. So maybe going on the reverse side of things, it may struggle. It may actually struggle to create good racing, which I think will be interesting. But what did you think of the squiggly, the sort of technical section that they've added in on the final race as well?
Oh, the new Sector 2 bit. Yeah, I guess it's a little bit hard to tell because we haven't really seen anything other than sort of an aerial, just sort of diagram of what it will look like. We haven't actually seen exactly how wide the braking zones and certain things like that will be. I didn't think it looked as, I think Pico really didn't like it, and possibly that might be a little bit because they overlooked his designs and designs that fans sent in, and he's nodding at me. So, but I think also I agree. Maybe the sort of the twisty stuff doesn't necessarily lend it. The sort of high speed changes direction doesn't seem quite like the usual sort of Formula E fare. But I don't know. I like that. I think it might be something a bit more unique and interesting. It's just, like I said, not sure either as well on the third layout where they're going to put attack mode and stuff like that, because that was slap bang in the middle of Sector 2, if I remember correctly, just before the, of Wandy at the first hairpin, actually, I think, on the track, so at the far end of the circuit. So, yeah, I think it's a little bit hard to say whether it's going to produce like amazing racing or not. I think it's, like you say, it's a compromise. It was never the first choice to go to Berlin. It's a compromise because of COVID-19, forcing these travel restrictions in, and so they're sort of making the best of the bad situation. And again, that's why they've had to resort to reverse layout as well, like you say. And it's something where they're sort of having to use what they've already got and sort of make it work somehow. So I'm not going to be too upset if it doesn't work. Good on them for trying. But you do get the sense that it is a bit of a compromise.
Attack mode round turn 1, I think is what I'd like to see round the long Shanghai section. If they put attack mode round there, I think that would be rather exciting.
Oh, you mean for the reverse grid layout? Okay.
Well, to replace the one where it usually is. I think if they put it around the turn 1 section, I think that would be really exciting, especially on the reverse grid section.
And they'd lose a lot of time. And maybe on the reverse grid section they wouldn't lose as much time, but on the new layout they would lose a lot of time going out wide. Because let's face it, right? We've seen it in the race at home challenge races, and we've seen it in Formula E itself. If they go really wide into that line, you're going to lose time. So at least there's going to be a decent penalty for taking attack mode, which is what we want. I think for the reverse layout, attack mode, I don't know. The early drawings, it looked like it seemed like attack mode would be on the short little... So where the Shanghai used to be, and then you have the double right, and then on that little straight, I think it's going to attack mode. They were planning to have attack mode there, but it may change. I'm not too sure. So I don't know if that would just be
on the bit that
where the bridge used to be.
On the
Emotion Club.
We need better names for these corners.
Yeah.
You can't just keep comparing it to Formula 1 track.
Right. Yeah, on the straight or round the corner?
I think on the straight.
Okay, on the straight makes more sense because it's going to be harder to get round into the.
Very Paris-like,
basically.
Very Paris-like, where they come out of a corner and boom into an attack mode. That's what I think I saw from the drawings. I may be wrong; they may move it, but yeah, I think attack mode.
Once again, we come up with better ideas than Formula E.
Wow,
that's a bit kind of world revolves around me attitude.
I hope the Zoom call managed to get that smile and thing. If not, there we go. This is what Jack did. But moving on. But in terms of track layouts, I suppose we've got to talk about Monaco because we broke the news that Monaco will be using the full layout next season. Ed, I just want to see what you made of that. I think it'll be awesome, first and foremost. Finally get rid of that short layout because let's face it, the short layout wasn't great. I think having the cars run up from Saint-Devote all the way to Massenet and so forth, and then Mirabeau, will be awesome because I think it's going to be actually quite a difficult track on energy management because it's a long run up through the casino section and then there's going to be some lifting. So we may see some overtakes, especially into Mirabeau, I reckon, and maybe even before going into Mezzanine, into the casino section. I think the full layout could be a real challenge on energy management.
Yeah, and there's so many iconic corners at Monaco that the bridge layout just sort of skips over. And the only reason I think that we were using the bridge layout was because it was sort of, I think the team principals and maybe even John Todd, the FIA president, were basically in favour of the bridge layout. I think Agag and the drivers were all constantly calling for it since years and years now. And yeah, it was a little bit of a. I think Susie Wolff, when interviewed, said that, oh well, the abridged layout, the short layout makes for better racing, which I never saw any evidence to support that, because we saw, I think in one race there I think it was season 3, we saw one overtake during the entire race, which I think was Robin Frines. I think Apt got past Robin Frines, and that was literally for like 11th or 13th. That was the only overtake the entire race. And so, yeah, that's why I remember it, because it was literally such a boring race otherwise. But yeah, really great to see all these iconic corners. Of course, the chicane is another great overtaking spot. The tunnel, Portier, the Lowe's hairpin, all those sorts of. I can't even know, maybe not necessarily great overtaking spots, but it'd be just great visually to see a Formula E car there. And you know what? A lot of people will say, oh, well, they're not as quick as Formula One cars, and it will invite that sort of comparison. I don't think anyone cares at this point. I think it's just nice to see Formula E on a full layout that might just provide better racing, in my opinion.
Exactly, and that's the point I'm going to say, Jack. I think Formula E can make Monaco great again because of energy management. Honestly, like Monaco, I love Monaco. When Formula One is at Monaco, I love it. And yes, there is no overtaking. But by God, do I love that swimming pool section and to back and seeing them race round those corners and get it inch perfect. They have to be inch perfect every lap. When we try and do it on F1 2020, how many walls do we hit? All of them, right? But they, in real life, are traveling at 200 miles per hour for real and are inch perfect going through the corners, which I think makes Monaco special. And that's why, in my personal opinion, on the F1 calendar, we can't get rid of Monaco because it's too special. But in terms of racing, there isn't much at Monaco, unless that tight little squeeze Verstappen tried to do on Hamilton at the Nouvelle Chicane. But, as I said, energy management will play a huge role, I believe, at Monaco. And I think, we will see overtakes into the Nouvelle Chicane because so out of Portier going through the tunnel, that's quite a bit of straight where someone might need to lift. Then you've also got, as I said, the hill going up Saint-Devote. That's, a potential to save energy, a potential for overtakes. I think there is plenty of chances now at the actual full Monaco layout that we will see overtaking, and we will see great, crazy Monaco races, which will make us fall in love with the circuit again.
I am so glad to see the back of that horrible little short circuit. That really is a terrible circuit. I don't know. They didn't really want the comparison with Formula One. That's why we didn't go there for the first 3 times we went there, because we go there every other season. But no, I am so happy to see the full layout of Monaco to take place next season. I'd love to see maybe attack mode going into the tunnel or something like that. I think that would be pretty cool. But yeah, no, the amount of overtaking opportunities into the chicane. And the thing is, Formula E cars are a lot smaller than Formula One cars, because Formula One cars have just got bigger and bigger and bigger. If you put Lewis's 2008 winning McLaren next to his 2020 Mercedes, you will realise that there is a substantial difference in size. But yeah, and Monaco lends itself to a smaller car to find that gap going down the inside. And we've seen that Monaco is Monaco produces. I don't know where I was going with that now.
Yeah, Jackie, you sure? Because I thought they were about the same width, Formula E cars and Formula One cars.
I think that they're smaller. I'm not 100% sure. I think.
Oh, because a few years ago when they made the F1 cars wider.
They made them wider. I think they're now like 2 and a bit meters long, wide. Sorry, and they're like 5 meters long. So that's why it's so hard to do it, and that's why I'm hoping 2022 regulations they make them smaller. But because Formula E is a little bit tiny, it will mean that Monaco produces more exciting it means that Formula E will produce more exciting races at Monaco. Not that they do that already, because Formula E is a lot more unpredictable, a lot more exciting than Formula One. No, I'm really excited to see them go through the entire Monaco circuit next year.
Yeah, I think we all are. Like, it's been a long time coming. I think they could have done it in season 5, but this stupid F1 comparison has been like a bit annoying, I would suppose. But I think we should move on because we're coming up to the end of the show. Just a couple of things, other breaking news stories. Ed, ABB are going to be doing the fast charging. So we talked about fast charging previously. So for Gen 3, we're aiming for 30-second charge up speeds, basically. So you put yourself on this sort of like pad, fast charging within 30 seconds. You've gone from 0% to 100%, and off you go again. That's your pit stop, and we're racing again. It could be really interesting. And I suppose if ABB can achieve that, it may then define the racing in itself, right? It may define the format. If they can't do that, if it has to be a minute, maybe the race format will change. I think if ABB can do what they've been asked to do, then that may revolutionize how we watch Formula E.
I guess, yeah, it's definitely a little bit of a departure from the current format, which is literally just do the whole race on one battery without having to make pit stops. And that's one of the reasons why I introduced the tank mode, I guess. And yeah, I guess it's a big ask of ABB, but that's probably why Formula E partnered up with them, because they specialize in robotics, fast charging and stuff like that. And that was the whole reason why fast charging was sort of ruled out for several years, was that they couldn't really figure out how to do it very quickly. Even when I think it was Qualcomm was doing it with the safety car, their little pads were taking much longer than 30 seconds to charge up the safety car, basically. And that's why whenever there was any downtime, the safety car would be put on top of that pad. So yeah, it definitely feels like if they've made the advancements, if they can, implement it in an effective way for all the teams, then it's going to make a good final product. Yeah.
And then Jack, obviously the Gen 2 Evo car, which is obviously we've been talking about cost saving, and Formula E have done so much cost saving lately, and it's looking ever more likely now that we've had all those car reveals that the Gen 2 Evo car will never ever see the light of day. And it has also been informed that it won't, because the Gen 2 Evo car won't race, it won't inform the Gen 3 car. The Gen 3 car will take on a completely different shape. They won't try and incorporate some of that lost Gen 2 Evo looks into the Gen 3 car. What do you make? I think it's the right decision because it would only have ran for 1 year, but what do you make on Gen 2 Evo possibly being cancelled?
It is the right decision. Not too happy about that. I started on a downer, end on a downer. No Joel Eriksson, no Gen 2 Evo. Oh, what a!
I'm sure you'll get over it.
I'll be over it in like 3 minutes, but still. It is disappointing because that Gen 2 Evo car looked beautiful. So yeah, I am rather disappointed that car won't see the light of day. Because I think, and especially round a circuit like Monaco, I think it would have been so cool to see it. But alas, no Gen 2 Evo, no Swedes.
No Swedes, no Gen 2 Evo. To be fair, I'm going to be honest with you. The Gen 2 Evo car was good. I remember showing my kids the car, the Gen 2, and I was introducing them to Formula E, and boom, all of a sudden, the interest level rose because that car really caught their eye. It caught their imagination. It looked cool. And all of a sudden, all I had in the classroom was Gen 2 Evo, Gen 2 Evo, Gen 2 Evo.
And just like the kids you teach, I am mentally 6 years old. So
yeah, exactly.
It kind of makes sense.
So there we go.
I'm glad you clarified that was the classroom, by the way, because I was just about to point out they're not your kids, you're a teacher.
Yeah, I know. But I suppose, they don't become yours, but they're like yours. You see them every day. But yeah, so you just like refer to them. I don't know why. Anyway, enough of that. Just a massive thank you, boys, for being on the show.
Oh, no worries, Jack.
So I want to say a massive thank you for you guys at home listening. I hope you really enjoyed the show. Please remember to hit the like and subscribe button. It really helps us out. We've got 282 subscribers now, so we've nearly gained over 100 subscribers since we started this, which is really big. So we're really thankful for all of your support. Remember, we have a Twitch channel. If you want to hit the link for the Twitch, we're trying to hit 50 followers. So there's 282 subscribers here. That means there's quite a few people that haven't hit the follow button. So hit the Twitch link, hit the follow button. It would really help us out. And we've got a Discord link as well. If you're not in the Discord, so many people are now in the Discord channel, which is amazing. But if you're not in the Discord channel, hit the link below and come say hi. We'd love to talk to you. And we also have Patreon page. If you love us that much and want to donate some of your money as little as $1, or well, it isn't dollar technically. I know we're in the United Kingdom, but it works in dollars. So as little as $1, you can help us provide this great content for you. Thank you so much for watching. You've been watching the FEZ show. We will see you very soon. Goodbye.